So, our group is going to be talking about volcanoes. Volcanoes can be frightening, fascinating, and essential to Earth. There are some dangers that are associated with volcanoes. The first one is lava. So, molten rock can erupt from volcanoes and it can destroy buildings, homes, just anything that's in the path of the lava as it's flowing down the volcano. Another danger is pyroclastic flows, and that's hot avalanches of rock, ash, and gas that travel at very high speeds. Um, Also, we have tsunamis. They're giant waves and rapid rises in sea level. Those can also be caused by volcanic eruptions. And another danger is layers. That's just basically a volcanic mud flow. Scientists believe volcanoes kill roughly 540 people per year. The deadliest volcano eruption in history occurred in 1815. Mount Tambora erupted on an island of modern day Indonesia called Sumbawa. It killed roughly 100,000 people. There are some benefits of volcanic activity. For example, volcanic rock and ash, it can fertilize the soil, which is really good for agriculture. Also, atmospheric cooling. So, when the sulfur gas produced by a volcano combines with the water in the atmosphere, microscopic droplets form and stay in the air for years. So, this cools the lowest level of atmosphere, which is the level we live in. Also, water production. So, steam produced by a volcano will build up over time and eventually become water.
Hi, I'm Kara Courtney, and I am going to be talking about supervolcanoes. So, supervolcanoes is a volcano, and it is considered a supervolcano if it has an eruption at a magnitude of 8 on the volcanic explosivity index, also known as VEI. To be a supervolcano, it erupts more than 240 cubic miles usually. And a supervolcano is formed when a huge volume of heated magma rises from deep under the ground and cannot escape the Earth's crust. And if it's too much pressure, it just erupts. And it's huge and it's scary and all of that. So, there are 40 known volcanoes around the world, and 7 of those are active right now. So, thank you so much.
Hi guys, my name is Summer Marler, and I decided to pick mountain ranges that are actually all volcanoes. So instead of it just being a mountain, it also doubles as a volcano. So to start out, we have the Aleutian Island. I think that's how you say it. This specific one is located in Alaska. It has an elevation of 6,821 feet, and even though it is in the US, some parts are owned by Russia. We also have the Cascade Mountain Range. This mountain range is located in Oregon, another US one. It has an elevation of 14,409 feet, and it is the most dangerous out of all of them. The Andes Mountains are located in South America. Those are 22,838 feet in elevation. They are more at risk for natural disaster rather than being at risk for an eruption. Then we have the Kunlun Mountains, which are mountains but also pretty much like a desert type, just deserted area. When I first saw the picture of it, I thought of the Badlands from Lion King. These are in China. They are also referred to as the Gates of Hell and Death Valley. These are 23,514 feet tall and often get struck by lightning, making them very dangerous. And lastly, we have the Pacific Coast Ranges. These are continuous from Alaska to Mexico, so it is just one long mountain range. They are 19,551 feet tall and are at high risk for earthquakes.
Okay, I'm going to be talking about volcanoes on divergent, convergent, and transform boundaries. The first one I'll be talking about is volcanoes on divergent boundaries, and divergent boundaries are when two plate boundaries split apart from each other. So they're going apart. And you will mainly see volcanoes on divergent boundaries because they are commonly there. And an example of a volcano that would be on divergent boundary would be a shield volcano. Now, a shield volcano is active, but it's not dangerous to anybody. It has slow-moving lava, so if it does end up erupting, people are going to be able to get out of there quickly and not be in any danger. So most volcanoes are formed under the water in the divergent plate boundaries. The next one would be volcanoes on convergent plate boundaries. And convergent plate boundaries are when the two plates are pushing up against each other, and one plate is actually going underneath the other. And this creates so much pressure that it's going to form a volcano from all the pressure being underneath. An example of volcano would be the Cascades, are a type of volcano, and these are active volcanoes, and they form along the Pacific Ring of Fire. And since they are active, these volcanoes they can be dangerous to people. So I would get away if I were you if these are ever to erupt. And volcanoes on a transform plate boundary, actually, volcanoes do not form on the transform plate boundaries. It is not possible for them to form on the plate boundaries. But the transform plate boundaries are actually two boundaries that are sliding up against each other. And they do create earthquakes, but not volcanoes. They can't transform since there is no subduction or rifting, and this is why they cannot transform. They cannot be on the transform plate boundaries.
My name is Isaac Barnes. I'm going to briefly be comparing shield and stratovolcanoes. I'm going to be following along with the PowerPoint we've created. So to start, we have a diagram of shield volcanoes, and you can see the vent, and shield volcanoes can erupt from the central vent as well as the flanks, and the surface of shield volcanoes is not very steep. They're very long, and they kind of just go in a little plane like this, as opposed to stratovolcanoes, which are very steep. And this is because they erupt from their central vent very violently, whereas with shield volcanoes, the magma just kind of rolls out. And the reason for this is because shield volcanoes typically form over hotspots or mantle plumes, which makes their magma much less viscous. Stratovolcanoes typically form over subduction zone boundaries, where sediments and water from the plate make magma very high in silica and gas, which makes the magma in turn very vicious and explosive.